Chali, Namaskar everybody. Good afternoon all. I welcome you all on the behalf of StudyIQ IS. My name is Pritesh Maturkar. I'm the Senior Faculty of Geography, Environment and Ecology in StudyIQ IS. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm also your tour guide because the person whom you are seeing on your screen right now, I have been to more than 49 countries and I have traveled across 4 continents of the world per se. So for me, geography is not only my profession but also my passion. So I welcome you all to Geography Through Maps version 2.0, wherein I will be zoning on three particular aspects. Number first being that I will be discussing in depth the conceptual analysis with regards to one particular location. Number two, we'll be having a special focus on current affairs too. And number third, I will be using some diagrammat. I will be using some schematics. So diagrams and schematics, whatever I'll be using on the screen, all of that will be readily available on my Telegram handle CSC with PM, just as it is after the lecture. So I welcome you all. Afternoon, Anshuman sir. Afternoon, Kanwar ma'am. Rest of you, those who are watching me live right now, feel free to comment. Are you all able to hear me? Are you all able to hear my voice, see my face? Please give me your feedback. I'm audible to everyone. Am I good to go? Please let me know. Is my sound audible to everybody? Let me just adjust up the sound. I guess that I'm having some issues in sound. Let me just the sound. Just give me 1 minute, guys. Yeah. I guess I'm not audible. Yeah. Chali. So now I am able to hear myself also. There was some problem in the settings. So guys, today I'll be discussing two very important latitudes out there. So number first latitude is going to be a very important latitude. The name of the latitude is referred to as 66.5 degrees north, and another latitude that we have, it is 66.5 degrees south. This is referred to as the Arctic Circle, and this one over here, it is referred to as Antarctic Circle. So why these two latitudes are important? In a nutshell, if I'm basically discussing the most important current affairs, or if I'm hitting the bullseye directly, so this is where you are witnessing the maximum amount of climate change. This is where you are witnessing the entire destruction of the ecosystems. Rather, I will say the change of ecosystems. And as Mahatma Gandhi ji has always advocated that there is everything in the nature for man's need, but there is nothing, or there will never be enough in the nature for man's greed. So as these regions melt, because beyond this you are having permafrost regions, permanently frozen. Ideally these regions should be permafrost, but sadly we are losing the ice cover. Antarctica itself holds 75% of the world's fresh water. So if all of this melts, but naturally sea level will rise. But naturally, when we are talking about the melting of these waters, you will be having new trade routes opening. So now we are having geopolitical tensions too. So let us start to analyze each of these latitudes out there. Good afternoon, everyone. Those who are watching me live right now, please feel free to comment. Mehak ma'am, Menka Naresh, good afternoon. Thanks for joining me, ma'am. Akshay sir, good afternoon for joining me today. For the very first time, I'm seeing your comment. Rest of you, feel free to interact. This is just like a live lecture out there. Okay. So now, why these two latitudes out there? So now, let us focus on basically the Earth's revolution around the sun. If I'm talking about the Earth's revolution around the sun, we know it's an elliptical orbit. This position is achieved on 21st of June. We call it as the summer solstice. This position is achieved on 22nd or 21st of December. We call it as the winter solstice. Right now we are moving towards here. And you have two more basically positions over here. So these two positions, they come between 28th to 23rd March, and this comes around 20th to 23rd September. We call them as equinoxes. We call them as what? We call them as equinoxes. So this one, it is referred to as the vernal equinox. We also refer to it as the spring equinox, and this one, it is referred to as the autumnal equinox. So, in a nutshell, if I'm trying to discuss the equinox with you, so on the equinoxes, one half of the earth, anywhere you are, is facing the sun directly, and the other half of the earth is facing away from the sun. So, on the equinoxes, virtually on these dates, anywhere you go on earth, so you are finding probably, or I can say approximately 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, approximately. Mind you, I have already advocated that there is no one such location on earth which is having equilux. Equilux meaning perfect 12 hours of day and perfect 12 hours of light. No, we don't have any single one location on earth which is having this. So what do these equinoxes signify? Like the 28th of till 23rd of September and the 28th till 23rd of March. So see, now we have to factor in the axial tilt of Earth. Axial tilt of Earth in the sense of what? Let's say this is our Earth. Okay, this is how the Earth's axis is tilted, and I am discussing basically the date called as 21st of June. So let's say we are standing over here. This is North Pole, right? So on the North Pole, now the sun's rays are falling directly, in the sense that the North Pole is facing directly the sun. But is the angle of sun's rays perpendicular? The answer is no. The angle is not perpendicular. But now here comes a very interesting phenomenon. Let's say this is our Earth tilted like this, and this is how the Earth is facing the sun. Now, even if the Earth rotates, like if I'm talking about 21st of June, guys, even if the Earth is rotating like this, the North Pole is facing the sun irrespective of the rotation of Earth. Meaning that on 21st of June, if I'm taking you to North Pole, we'll be having what? We'll be having 24 hours of daylight. That is why this can be attributed as the land of the midnight sun. So even if the earth is rotating on its axis, the North Pole is still facing the sun, meaning here the sun will not set. And the exact opposite will happen on which date? The exact opposite will happen on 21st of December. So let's say this is our earth over here, right? And this is the actual tilt of earth. Let's say this is our sun. So now if I'm turning the cards, if I'm talking about 21st of December, so the South Pole is facing the sun directly. Now, even if the earth rotates on its axis from west to east, South Pole will be facing the sun directly. So here again, you will be having 24 hours of daylight. This is where, guys, the phenomenon of equinoxes comes into being. Why equinoxes are so goddamn important? Because when I'm talking about the North and the South Pole, so this is North Pole, this is South Pole. So North Pole and South Pole will face what? They will face 6 months of daylight and 6 months of darkness. Yes, this is what the poles of Earth typically go through. For 6 months, the sun will never rise. For 6 months, the sun will never set. So, when I'm talking about 20th to 23rd of March, this will be the first sunrise. This will be the first sunrise over where? Over the North Pole after 6 months of darkness. Very, very important. For 6 months, the North Pole is facing away from the sun. That is why right now we are seeing that the day length in the northern hemisphere is decreasing. All of you are watching this lecture from the northern hemisphere, am I right? Anybody of you watching the lecture from the southern hemisphere, feel free to comment. And if anyone watches the lecture from the southern hemisphere in the future, please feel free to comment. Okay, it will be my pleasure to address you all. So 6 months of darkness will be having the first sunrise, and exact opposite will happen where? Exact opposite will happen on the South Pole. So this will mark the last sunset. This will mark what? This will mark the last sunset on the South Pole. After that, the South Pole will enter into 6 long months of darkness, because over here the South Pole will be facing away from the sun. So beyond this, the South Pole will go through what? The South Pole will go through 6 months of darkness. That is why these equinoxes are so goddamn important. Because for 6 months, sun will not be visible either on the North Pole or South Pole, depending upon the dates, depending upon the seasons, depending upon the Earth's position in the orbit around the sun. So, does this mean that on 21st of June, the surrounding places of the North Pole experience the same stuff? The answer is surprisingly yes. So, what exactly is the Arctic Circle and what exactly is the Antarctic Circle? So, Arctic Circle and Antarctic Circle are those latitudes. This is 66.5 degrees north. We refer to it as the Arctic Circle. Guys, this signifies that latitude where to the north of it, I'm writing on the board so that all of you can understand it. To the north of it, we'll be having we'll be having what? At least one day of 24 hours day or 24 hours night. So Arctic Circle will be that latitude in the northern hemisphere where to the north of which at least for one day you will be having 24 hours of daylight or 24 hours of darkness. If you are going to the north of this, or if you are standing on the Arctic Circle on 21st of December, 24 hours of darkness. Exactly opposite, vice versa, on 21st of June, 24 hours of daylight. And the same stuff will happen where? The same stuff will happen in the Arctic Circle. So if I'm talking about the Arctic Circle, so Arctic Circle will be that latitude in the southern hemisphere to the south of which, you will be having at least one day which is having 24 hours of daylight, or we are having 24 hours of darkness. Now, I want answer from all of you. If you are having 24 hours of daylight, feel free to comment everybody. I will be giving you a 10-second window. Does this mean that the sun's rays will be very intense? What do you think? I want your answer. Do you think that here we'll be having very intense insolation? Just answer me in yes or no. What's your perspective? What's your take on this? I'm asking you, if I'm taking you on the North Pole on 21st of June, where the North Pole is facing the sun directly, the sun is not setting. So does this mean that the sun's insolation intensity and amount will be very high? What's your take on this? Answer me in yes or no. I'm giving you all 10 seconds. Feel free to comment. No. Okay. No, because the angle very good. Please comment everybody. Kanwar ma'am has commented no, sir. Augustus sir has said no. Prabhu Datta, Akara Prabhu Datta sir, thank you for joining me live. No, because the angle. Anshuman sir, you have also commented no. Yes, all of you are right. Why? The angle. This will mean what? So let's say this is the horizon. So if I'm not wrong, this is basically the level of the screen which you are seeing me right now. Below, you won't be able to see my hand. Above, you are able to see my hand. So the sun will rise. The sun will not come above. Even if it's 12 noon, sun will not come directly overhead. See, when we talk about 12 noon or 12 p.m., this means that the sun has come directly overhead. So there is no shadow on 12 p.m. when the sun comes directly overhead. Here, the sun will never come directly overhead. Sun will rise, sun will stay like this for eternity till the time the earth does not alter its position in the orbit. So that is why we refer to it as what? We refer to it as the land of the midnight sun. If I'm just showcasing you through video, let me just open up a video of it. So very good representation of it. Let me just give you a videographic representation. How does it look like? Okay. Midnight sun 24 hours. One very good video over here. So see, it's a time-lapse video. Here you will be clearly able to see the sun has risen. The sun is not setting. The sun is just staying above the horizon, and this is where the sun stays for majority of its time frame. So even though it's morning 2 a.m., the sun has not set. The sun is over here only. So this is how the sun will come and the sun will go. 24 hours of daylight. The land of the midnight sun. The sun will never set over here. But you won't be finding very intense amount of insolation. Why? Because the thing is, sun is not coming overhead. Sun is just peeping over the horizon and is staying at this position. So now I want your answer. If I'm talking about these areas, so will these areas be energy surplus or will these areas be energy deficit? Comment S for surplus and comment D for deficit, everybody. If I'm talking about the areas to the north of Arctic Circle, these one and this one, the areas will be net energy surplus or these areas will be net energy deficit. What do you think? What's your take on this? I want your answer, everybody. So comment D for deficit and comment S for surplus. What's your take on this? But naturally, these areas will be net energy deficit. Here, you won't be having any surplus insolation at any cost. Yes, all of you are right. So meaning what? Meaning in the summers too, if I'm taking you on the Arctic Circle, in the summers too, you should not be having the regions ice free. Summers should not be ice free. That is why the regions to the north of this, they will be referred to as permafrost. But is this really happening right now as I'm taking this lecture? The answer is no. Antarctica is melting at record level. Arctic has already started to melt. By 2030, it is being advocated that Arctic will melt completely. So first of all, now let us try to understand the countries through which Arctic Circle passes. We'll understand the current affairs and then we will move towards the Antarctic Circle. So now guys, if I'm talking about the Arctic Circle, so Arctic Circle, it basically passes through 8 countries. We are having in total 8 locations through which Arctic Circle passes. Let us start off from the westernmost side. So it passes through Alaska. Alaska is in USA. Then it will pass through Canada. So it does pass through Alaska slash USA. Then it passes through Canada. Then it passes through Greenland. Greenland is ruled by Denmark, so that is why it will pass through Denmark. Then it passes through Iceland. We have Norway, we have Sweden, we have Finland, and then last but not the least, we have Russia. So in total, we are having 8 countries through which the Arctic Circle passes. Now, knowing the countries is not going to solve the purpose for you because now UPSC is going into the depths of it. So now let us try to understand the individual seas. Let us try to understand the rivers through which the Arctic Circle basically cuts through. So for now, let us move towards the in detail discussion of Arctic Circle. Let us open up the physical map of North America first and then we will start off with the discussion of it. So everybody, for the very first time I'm zooming in this much. Please let me know, are you all able to see the entries clearly if I'm zooming in? Because this is very important for all of you. So even if I'm zooming in, because these images are really very high resolution images, all of them have been uploaded on my Telegram portal. Please let me know whether you are able to see these images, because over here now for me the image is broken if I have zoomed in so much. So for me it's not clear. On camera, if it's clear, comment C. Sure. So now if I'm talking about Arctic Circle, so guys, this is your Arctic Circle, 66.5 degrees north. The very first strait through which the Arctic Circle passes, it is referred to as the Bering Strait. Bering Strait separating USA, the Alaskan Peninsula from the Siberian region. So very, very important, it passes through Davis Strait. Then the most important river of Alaska, very, very important river of Alaska, you have river Yukon and you have a river called as Porcupine. Very, very important. So the Arctic Circle, it crosses Yukon, it crosses Porcupine. These two rivers, they are known for gold rush. So selling Alaska to USA was the biggest mistake of Russia. Suddenly you are having gold placer deposits brought by these rivers. So Arctic Circle cuts through it and you are having above Brooks Range. As you cross the Brook Range and you enter over here, so this is called as Port Barrow, above you have Beaufort Sea. It is said that it is one of the richest mineral oil regions in the entire world. Now COP30 is going on right now in Brazil. You all know what happened over there on Sunday. So the indigenous tribal groups, they attacked, they vandalized the conference. Nothing concrete is going to come out of it. That's for sure. One thing we can guarantee is utter disaster. That is for sure. Joe Biden, before, even though when Joe Biden was the president of USA, USA was signatory to the Paris Climate Treaty, but before ending his term, he gave the permission for construction of the largest oil drilling mission of USA near Port Barrow. So this is basically the lifeline of USA. So please remember this Arctic Circle, Port Barrow. After that, when I'm talking about Arctic Circle, it enters into Canada. When I'm talking about Canada, so a very important lake it cuts through, it is called as the Great Bear Lake of Canada, one of the biggest lakes of Canada out there. So Canada is having the highest number of freshwater lakes in the entire world. More than 3.2 lakh plus lakes we are having in Canada. So Arctic Circle does cross the Great Bear Lake. Please remember this. After this, the Arctic Circle, it basically cuts across Hudson Bay. So Hudson Bay is known for freezing during the winters. That is why the polar bears are able to come southwards, and during summers they basically migrate backwards. So Hudson Bay, over here we have Fox Basin, very, very important Fox Channel. It cuts the Baffin Islands, very, very important. After this, if I'm talking about the Arctic Circle, before entering into Greenland, it cuts across Davis Strait. So very important. Baffin Bay, Hudson Bay, Fox Basin, Davis Strait. So up till now we have discussed two straits, the Bering Strait and the Davis Strait. After this, the Arctic Circle will cross Greenland. After crossing Greenland, it will enter into Iceland. It touches the northern part and it cuts across Denmark Strait. So Denmark Strait, Davis Strait and Bering Strait, three very important straits through which the Arctic Circle cuts through. After that, the Arctic Circle will enter into a region of northwestern Europe, which is referred to as what, guys? Which is referred to as the Lapland. So Lapland, the home of Santa Claus, the home of the Vikings, the home of basically the Eskimos. So when I'm talking about Arctic Circle, it cuts across a very important mountain range in Norway. So you have a very important mountain range in northwestern Norway, and you have in Sweden, which is referred to as Jollen Mountains. It cuts through Lapland, the home of Santa Claus, Ravensmini. It's a small town name over here in Finland, which is also referred to as the home of Santa Claus. After that, it cuts across one very important peninsula of Russia, which is referred to as Kola Peninsula. Why this entry is so goddamn important? Because now, if I open up the map of Russia for everybody, now see, when I'm talking about Kola Peninsula, let me just zoom in on it. So this is our Arctic Circle passing through basically the Kola Peninsula of Russia. If I'm zooming in, This over here is our Arctic Circle. Now over here you have Kola Peninsula, but this is the most important entry. This is referred to as Murmansk. Now why Murmansk is so goddamn important for Russia? Because Murmansk is basically a very important naval base of Russia. It borders what? It borders Finland. Above you are having Norway. So Russia is able to keep a check on NATO. So Murmansk is very, very important. Right now, as the Arctic is melting, Russia is trying to open up a new Silk Route referred to as the Polar Silk Route. It is starting from Vladivostok, from eastern Russia. From Vladivostok, it will be coming across Bering Sea. It will be going in the north, and from the north, it will be ending up where it will be entering in Murmansk. And India has also signed an MOU. We are connecting Chennai to Vladivostok. So Chennai, Vladivostok, Murmansk. This is now going to be a very important maritime corridor for India. So we are having Murmansk. After that, if I'm talking about Arctic Circle, then Arctic Circle, it basically passes through two very important entries. We have the Western Siberian Plains, then we have the Central Siberian Plateau over here. We'll be doing this in detail when we're doing the map of Russia. Please don't worry about it. And then to the north of Arctic Circle, we do have the world's most habitable city. In the sense of what? Does this mean that this is the northernmost settlement that we have in the world? The answer is no. This is not the most northernmost settlement that we have in the world. That is there in Alaska. But this is the world's biggest city to the north of Arctic Circle, Verkhoyansk. Please remember. And the world's coldest city, the world's coldest habitable place is basically Oymyakon. We'll be discussing this when we're doing the map of Russia out there. So Oymyakon has the title of the world's coldest habitable place. The temperature over here recorded, the lowest one, it's approximately minus 72 degrees Celsius. But the world's coldest, the northernmost, most habitable city is Verkhoyansk, which is to the north of Arctic Circle. After this, the Arctic Circle will move into eastern Siberia. After that, it will enter into where? After that, it will be entering into the Bering Sea. And this peninsula over here, it is referred to as Chukki Peninsula. So, if I'm talking about the, let me just go full screen so that all of you can understand and appreciate it. I'm not zooming in purposefully so that you can understand. So this is where we are having Vladivostok. From Vladivostok going across La Perouse Strait, then going across Bering Sea, Chukki Sea, East Siberian Sea, Dmitry Medvedev Strait, Vilkhitsky Strait, Kara Sea, like this. So now this is going to be the new Polar Silk Route, PSR. China is interested in this, and but naturally India is also interested in this. India has shown interest in connecting Chennai and Visakhapatnam to this linkage. Why? Because once the Arctic melts completely, this will now act as a big shortcut. Instead of cutting across the Gulf of Aden, Socotra, passing through Red Sea, Suez Canal, then entering into Mediterranean, coming out from Strait of Gibraltar into Atlantic. No, we can just have a shortcut over here. But even though this is a very important geopolitical entry, this thing is very much detrimental to our planet. Why so? Because when I'm talking about the region to the north of Arctic Circle, when I'm talking about these regions over here, so ideally these regions should be permafrost, permanently frozen. These regions should never melt. But right now, what is happening? If I'm basically discussing these regions with you in detail, let me just go into a 3D mode and let me just open up this region for each and every one of you. I'm extremely sorry, I'm suffering from cough and cold, so that is why My voice is a little bit breaking in the middle. Climate change is happening everywhere. From where I'm taking your lecture right now, it's Nagpur, Maharashtra. So the temperatures have dropped below 10 degrees yesterday. So I got fever and I got cough and cold. So that's why I'm sneezing up and coughing up. So please bear with me. Thank you, everyone. This is our Arctic Circle out there. So ideally, this region should be permafrost. But now, what is happening? As it melts, we have something referred to as the feedback loop. Feedback loop meaning what, guys? See, when the ice melts, okay, when the ice melts, it turns black, right? Water will mix with mud, it will turn black. As it turns black, it absorbs more heat, right? It will take in more and more heat, it will take in more and more circulation, and the more it melts. So, Greenland is melting up, the Lapland is melting. For the very first time in the past 3 years, the summer temperatures in the Arctic of Alaska, they have crossed more than 30 degrees Celsius. And you won't believe the temperatures in Siberia, they have crossed 35 degrees Celsius. 35 degrees Celsius. Ice is melting. If the ice is melting, these regions were supposed to be the global carbon sequestrating regions. So they are basically the global carbon sinks. Carbon is stored beneath the ice. Now, if I'm taking you to Siberia, in Siberia, you are actually having what? In Siberia, we are actually having sinkholes. I'm doing a live Google search in front of all of you so that you don't feel that, sir, whatever you are saying is not being validated. That is the biggest, what I can say, uptake of geography. Whatever I'm teaching, I can showcase you through live searches. So right now, if I'm taking you to Siberia, this is what is happening. Your permafrost is melting. Whatever stored carbon we are having, whatever stored methane we are having, this is all coming out. So that is why you are having global sinkholes out there. And just below this Arctic Circle, you have basically what? Just below this Arctic Circle over here, we have the coniferous taiga belt. Over here too, and over here too. So now this region has started to suffer from what? This region has started to suffer from wildfires. And guys, you don't have to go anywhere. If you just Google this up, I've done the same thing for all of you. You might wonder, sir, why are you doing Google search in front of us? Because you should know how to approach current affairs. If you just open up Arctic Circle wildfires, see, don't go into the AI mode because AI mode will not give you the right answers. What you should do is you should always open the trusted government sources. So Copernicus, the satellite constellation of Europe. So large wildfires returned to Arctic Circle in June 2024. So this year also the same stuff happening. So see, you can see over here the wildfires which are raging over here. If I'm talking about Arctic wildfires in 2025, so this year basically all records were broken. Literally all records were broken. So the Arctic on fire. The Arctic is just warning, it's on fire from this record-shattering 2023 wildfire season in Canada to zombie fires. Arctic wildfires are reshaping. In this episode, learn about. So Canada's wildfire season was reductive. Wildfire season already on track, being one of the worst on record. That's why we have decided to release. They are just basically releasing out here. So you can just go through this and you can just think about like what is happening over here. So if I'm talking about CAMS, Copernicus Monitoring Agency, so over here they have given basically detailed info as to how the wildfires are raging. Was marked by intense wildfire in several areas from the world, from the boreal forest of Canada and Russia to agricultural heartlands of Southeast Asia, from temperate zones of Europe to Korean Peninsula. Wildfires were significant. If you talk about Canadian wildfire activity, so its metric ton of CO2 emissions, you can see that in 2025 and 2024 in combined you are having more than 150 metric tons of CO2 being emitted. So my humble request to each and every one of you, humble request, whatever pointers I'm providing you, do summarize them. Half a page write-up is more than enough. The feedback loop of ice, the ecosystems changing from permafrost to grasslands, giant sinkholes opening, the regions which should act as carbon sequestrating agents, now these regions are acting as net carbon and methane emitters, and plus we are having the raging wildfires. So AQI is plummeting, and once you have wildfires will result into what? Wildfires will result into air temperatures increasing. As the air temperature increases, the air becomes more and more humid. So ultimately, again, the real temperature in the sense, what is being witnessed at that point of time. So you have the atmospheric temperature plus you have the real feel of the temperature. So the real feel is exceeding way high. So because of this real feel now, you won't believe that plants over here have stopped doing photosynthesis. You must be wondering, sir, what are you saying today? Those of you are live right now, please feel free to comment. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? You know why is this happening? Because over here, the real feel, the brunt of the insolation which is falling on the trees right now, it is always coming unfiltered here. Basically, the atmosphere is not that much thick as we have it on the equator. So we are having unfiltered insolation coming. So as the real feel increases, as the real temperature increases, once the real temperature crosses 40-45 degrees mark on the upper reaches of the tree canopy, as the tree surface, as the leaf surface starts to warm up, as they start absorbing more and more heat because there is no ice to reflect back the heat. So absorption, very simple. That is why I purposefully wore this black jacket so that I can showcase you this phenomenon. See, this is basically the tree with snow. Snow in the sense it's white. So if we are having snow cover, the snow will reflect back. But if you are not having snow cover, the snow has melted, it has turned black. Now, this black color will start absorbing more and more heat out there. It is as simple as this. So absence of snow does not only mean that okay, the real temperature is increasing. No, absence of snow meaning the absorption of the surface, the ground, the tree surface, the leaf surface, the absorption is also increasing. So critical temperatures are now being achieved in Arctic. The leaves of the trees, they are turning black. Up till now, this was restricted to Amazon. This was restricted to northwestern Australia, surrounding the Darwin region. But now this is happening where? This is happening in Lapland too. This is happening in Canada too. So very, very dire consequences. Very dire consequences. So guys, this is our discussion of the Arctic Circle. So now let us move towards the discussion of the Antarctic Circle, because Antarctic Circle is also equally important. When I'm talking about Antarctic Circle, so there is no one country through which the Antarctic Circle passes, because there is no landmass over here. You just have one of the world's biggest continent. If I'm not wrong, sorry, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Antarctica is, I guess, the world's 5th largest continent. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm getting confused between 4th and 5th. As far as my knowledge is concerned, it's 5th. Please do verify this once. It might happen. It does happen that we tend to forget some entries out there. But yes, it is 4th or 5th largest continent of the world. But the thing is, when I'm talking about Antarctic Circle does not pass through Antarctica also, because here we are having absence of landmass. We are having dominance of open seas. You have only 3 or 4 points through which the Antarctic Circle cuts across Antarctica. So if I'm talking about Antarctic Circle, or if I'm talking about Antarctica in general, so this is where we are having South Pole. So South Pole is referred to as Abbotsman Point. To the east of this, we are having the Eastern Hemisphere. To the west of this, we are having the Western Hemisphere. This is 0 degree prime meridian. This is basically our 0 degree prime meridian, right? This is the eastern hemisphere, this is the western hemisphere. I have showcased this line straight. It's bent somewhat. For now, we are considering this to be the straight. If I'm talking about the Antarctic Circle, so Antarctic Circle cuts across which continental part of Antarctica? It cuts the western continental part of Antarctica. And what is the name of the land out there? So the name of the land out there, it is called as the Graham Land, the Palmer Land, and we are having the South Shetland Island. So we have the Palmer Land, the Graham Land, and the South Shetland Islands, the regions through which the Antarctic Circle passes. Okay, thank you, Convert ma'am, for validating my point. So this is the region through where the Antarctic Circle passes. So this is the extension of the continental landmass of Antarctica. Then if you go over here, this is South Pacific. Over here we have South Pacific. So Pacific Ocean lies both in the eastern and the western hemisphere. Over here we have the Indian Ocean. If you come down south, the Antarctic Circle, it will not pass through any of the seas over here. Over here we have Amundsen Sea, named after the person who discovered the South Pole. Then we have Ross Sea, Ross Ice Shelf. It does not pass through it. Then as soon as you enter over here on the eastern Antarctica, so eastern Antarctica is where the Antarctic Circle cuts through Antarctica over here. So the eastern Antarctica is cut by Antarctic Circle, not the western Antarctica. Please remember this. And you have basically the Trans-Antarctica Mountains. Antarctic Circle will not cross the Trans-Antarctica Mountains. These are fold mountains. See, Antarctica was once a continent only, right? It was a part of Pangaea. So, but naturally, Antarctica was not covered by ice shelf throughout its geological history. This has all happened in the past 100 million years only. So, you do have orogeny over here. You do have basically old mountain building procedure over here. But Trans-Antarctic Mountains are not cut by Antarctic Circle. 66.5 degrees south, we have the eastern side being cut. And this is where now we are having our Antarctic stations out there. So Antarctica is not claimed by any of the country. We have different claims by different countries. We are having basically 4 research stations over here. Out of that, 1 is now being discontinued. So if I'm just showcasing you the research stations which India has, you must be knowing Maitri, then we are having Dakshin Gangotri, then we have Bharti station, and now right now, just in the last month, we are now having Maitri 2 station being basically sanctioned out there. So just remember this particular part through which the Antarctic Circle passes. Over here we have the Commonwealth Bay. This is very important entry. And now if I'm showcasing you the stations which we have over here, the research stations. So let me just open up the image of this. You will all be able to benefit from it. Just give me 1 minute. I need to zoom in over here. Yeah, zoomed in. If you talk about the research stations that we have, so research stations, this is where we have the Dakshin Gangotri and we have the Maitri station, India. Over here, we have the Bharti station, not shown over here. And now this station has been discontinued. Over here now, we'll be having Maitri 2 coming up. And this is referred to as Amundsen Scott South Pole Station, the people who basically discovered this. If you are talking about the Antarctic Circle, so this is our Antarctic Circle crossing through it. No location on Antarctica except the Commonwealth Bay, Australia. Then we are having the Davis Bay, the Australian region. Above we have the Russian and the Japanese. So this is the eastern side. This is the Far East. Then above over here we are having the West. the southwest and the northern hemisphere. So this is how the Antarctica is now being basically commissioned by global countries. So depending upon which time zone you are, we are having the passage of the rulings with regards to the research stations being advocated over here. So right now we are having Maitri 2 station being given the green light. It is scheduled to be completed by 2029. So 4 more years to go, then we'll be having the completion of it. Okay. Chalo. So I hope guys this solves the purpose for each and every one of you. For now, you have to remember only this much perspective with regards to the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle. Please remember that you can all connect with me on Telegram. My official handle is CSC with PM. Whatever I've written on the board, it will be readily available to each and every one of you after this lecture. So tomorrow onwards, now we'll be taking up a pivot. I'll be starting off with our world tour. So tomorrow onwards, I'll be starting off with Australia and Oceania. I'll be discussing Australia, New Zealand, and the Southwest Pacific Islands group. So it might happen that we can continue one region of the world for 3 to 4 lectures. So bear with me. I hope that these lectures are really very fruitful to each and every one of you. Please do feel free to comment after the lecture if you want any modifications. And plus, I'll be bringing in PYQs too. So we'll be discussing the PYQs of mapping from that particular region. In addition to that, we'll be drawing some schematics so that you can understand the physiography from scratch out there. So this is what I'll be doing for the very first time on YouTube for mapping. Otherwise, I always used to open up the map outline and teach, but now I'll be drawing the outline for each and every one of you so that all of you benefit. Okay. So on the behalf of StudyIQ, thank you each and everyone. Please remember that if you are joining any course on StudyIQ, you can use my code PMLife. Right now, our flagship SIP Prelims batch, Success in Prelims batch of November, it is starting on 10th. So basically, when I'm talking about this batch, so this batch is basically a very flagship batch where I'll be taking up geography and mapping. So if you want to join this batch, quick revision for prelims, if you're appearing for next year, use my code PMLife. You'll be able to start your journey in only 5,999 depending upon which basically tier you purchase. And plus our resolution batch, it is starting on 18th of November today itself. And the batches are available across languages. If you use my code PMLive, we'll be able to start your journey in only 20,999 rupees. Okay. On the behalf of StudyIQ, I thank each and every one of you. Please keep on smiling. Please keep on working hard because that is the ultimate crux of life. Okay. Thank you all, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye bye. I'll be starting off with Australia and Oceania. Thank you, everybody.